The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner. And let's be honest, folks, we need football. It's the dog days of summer, and there's really no sports going on. So let's talk some football, especially top 25 fantasy dynasty rankings. That's right, it's officially fantasy football season, and let's get it started. Welcome, football fans, for another edition of the IDP Plus podcast. I've been waiting over a month to do that, so apologize for my enthusiasm. But what's up, folks? I am one of your hosts here, the DGen Doc, and more importantly, I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Welcome back to the mic, bud.
Oh,
Been a
man.
minute.
I've missed it. Yes. I have been off and about in different, Army stuff.
Yeah,
You've
had a busy last like 5-6 weeks.
It's been busy, man. It wasn't anything super crazy, but got to go to Hawaii and do some things there, and then
rough life there.
Right, rough life. Yeah. I mean, hey, man, pour one out for me. That was tough, but yeah, and bounce around. But hey, cheers. It's good to be back here with you, right where we belong, on the mic,
Right.
giving the people what they need. Football. Because
I think I saw today or heard today we have 71 days until open
NFL
that Thursday, week 1 Thursday.
Beautiful.
NFL's kicking off.
60 days to college football.
But we still got, training camps coming up, preseason to look forward to.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. I think, isn't the first preseason game like a month from now?
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
I think it's like the end of July.
Yeah, I think it might be a Hall of Fame game there over in Canton, Ohio. NBA, I'm not a big NBA guy. NHL more so. When the Stanley Cup, NBA playoffs, like that is really the time where it's like, all right, I'm completely zoned into football because I'm gonna shut her down and bear these 60 days.
Yes, not all of us are baseball fans. Yeah,
right.
It's just America's pastime, but
I guess that's still happening. But October is really when I just need to come back in for the playoffs. So,
fair.
But hey, I'm excited. We're wrapping up our Dynasty ranking series, and we are talking our 2025 top 25 fantasy dynasty rankings. Now, I know what you're saying. Usually you see top 24 to simulate the first 2 rounds, blah, 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 blah. It's 2025, and we want to do 25.
Exactly. Yeah, we've already went through
content.
Right. We've already went through quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, position by position, giving you the top 12 to 15 in each position. And now we're wrapping this up by giving you basically our top 2 rounds worth of guys.
Exactly. We are combining all 4 of those positions. So as Derek mentioned, if you want a deeper dive into, quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, go ahead and check those out over on the YouTube page there. But yeah, we're going to bring it together here. Now, couple ground rules. This is Dynasty. This is not redraft. If you want redraft, wait a couple weeks because we'll be doing redraft rankings there. But career longevity does play here. We're talking more of that 3 to 5 year range, trying to project. I think we talked about this earlier, but projecting more than that's a bit tougher, right? I mean, think about your NFL 5 years ago; it's like a whole different world. So,
no doubt. Most guys don't even make it 5 years in the NFL, let alone trying to project how they're going to be doing in 5 years.
Absolutely, average career I think it's like 3.4 years or something like that. But the assumption we're going to make here is that this is PPR. Full point PPR in normal scoring settings, 6 for your touchdowns, 4 for your passing, yada, yada, yada. So that's kind of what we're going with. Structure of what we're going to do tonight here is we're going to go from 25 to 1, but we're actually going to start with the honorable mentions here.
Yeah.
The guys who just missed. We have 5 tiers. We're going, obviously 5 guys in each tier. And then we're going to start with our honorable mentions. So, before we do that, I've got to tell you good folks about one of our awesome sponsors here at IDP Plus, and that is Fast Draft. That's right. Fast Draft Fantasy It's in the name, folks. Start drafting faster. This whole episode is dedicated to fantasy football, and that's what Fast Draft's all about. The cool thing here is that every draft is guaranteed to be over in under 10 minutes. You've got, 10 teams, 6 rounds. They also have IDP. That's right. We're IDP plus. So if you're listening to this, you're probably plugged into the defensive side of the ball. You care about all 22 guys on the field. So fantasy draft is for you. They've also got these cool boosters that can kind of allow for some flexibility after the draft. So it's still a best ball type of draft. They'll kind of set your lineups, high scores win. I think it's the top 4 scores each week get posted out of your 6-man lineup. So definitely check them out. And we'll throw in a bonus here. If you're a first time deposit, we can get a deposit match up to $50. That's right. Promo code plus PLUS there. Deposit 50, get $50. If you want to help us out, you can do plus DGenDoc actually if your promo code there. So check out Fast Draft. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the content, my friend. All right. Honorable mentions. I do not. All right. I'm just making sure I'm not missing that. All right. So why don't you kick us off? We're going to tell you our 4 guys who just missed the cut for each position.
So basically, we had, going back to when we did position by position, we started with tight ends, we started with quarterbacks, and then we went running backs and wide receivers. So quarterbacks and tight ends, obviously with fantasy, typically you're not playing as many of those guys. So for Sam Laporta and Jaden Daniels, tight end quarterback, they were our number 3 at each of their positions. So Jaden Daniels and Sam Laporta just missed off of our top 25. Breece Hall, I believe he was number 9, maybe?
And yeah, we switched it up a little
10,
bit, but yeah, he
9,
was like
9, 10. So he was, kind of middle of the road at the running back position. And then Drake London was the wide receiver, and I think he was like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. In our position by position rankings.
Yeah, and I think, they each kind of have their own little thing that we can touch on briefly here. Jaden Daniels, absolutely a great talent, young guy. Just 1 year, right? So a little bit, need to see a little bit more. You still have, hey, he stayed healthy all year, which was huge, right?
No doubt.
Injuries are kind of our thing. I think it's a little bit hard to project just based on frame. I think really play style and career history is a better indicator. You talk about guys like Devonta Smith, who, everyone called slim and whatever, and he's been pretty damn reliable. When you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, who's built like a fucking tank, but he plays reckless and he never stayed healthy throughout his whole, even going back to high school, he wasn't healthy. As a Florida Gators fan, I was, definitely aware of that. So I think Jaden Daniels I'm not just going off the frame thing, but it's still with the way that he runs and things like that and keeps plays alive. You do want to kind of make sure you get some dependability there. And he's only quarterback 3 for us. He's not too far off, right?
Right.
Laporta's similar, I would say.
Yeah, and with Laporta, I think, going into last season, he was like the number 1 guy. He took a pretty good step back. They used him slightly different in the offense. But the big thing with him is like the Lions are moving on from Ben Johnson. And what is that offense going to look like moving into this season, right? Sam Laporta can play all over the place. He can line up on the edge and be a blocking tight end, or he can, spread out wide. How are they going to use his, massive skill set that he has?
Right. And he just got so many mouths to feed in Detroit too.
Yeah.
So that kind of adds another element where he's on a really good team, really good offense, right? So it's not like he's the top guy when we talk about some of our other tight ends that kind of, pushed it a little bit ahead there. Breece Hall, it's the consistency factor. I think the potential is there. It's what is this offense going to look like with Justin Fields? Are they going to run the read option? I hope they are for the, likelihood of success for them, really using Fields' attributes there. But is he going to just take away from Breece Hall? I'm in off-season form. They're running back 2 there that they like, Braylon Allen.
Yep.
Right. So what's that going to look like? At times he was getting some touches we would expect to go to Hall. So, I just, the last year kind of brought a little bit of pause. You were expecting year 2 off the ACL that he was going to be in a much better spot, and it just didn't materialize there.
Yep. Yeah. And with Drake London, he did take a pretty good step forward. He did kind of become that number one wide receiver last year. But you have Michael Penix stepping in for Kirk Cousins midway through the season. How is Michael Penix going to shape out? And, just to see how their chemistry, their relationship continues to build as, that quarterback wide receiver
Yeah.
connection. But, all of these guys are absolute studs. It's not that we wouldn't want to have them on our team. They just didn't quite make our top 25.
Yeah, look, you're good. You're just not good enough for our top
Exactly.
25. So, but yeah, those are honorable mentions there. Just missed the cut for us. All right, first up, tier number 5. We are gonna go with our up for debate tier. I think it's the last 5 guys in, right? We just
Yep.
talked about 4 guys that potentially could have cracked this top 25. And here we go. So number 25 on the list, rounding out the group, is Miami Dolphins running back Devon Achane. Then we got Garrett Wilson, Lamar Jackson, A.J. Brown, and finishing up with second-year guy, Los Angeles Charger, Lad McConkey. All right, we are not going to talk about everybody, but we are going to touch on and highlight a few of these guys throughout the top 25. So why don't you kick us off here? With the guy taking up the caboose, Mr. Devon Achane, over there, 23-year-old for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, A-Chain he's a guy that has been interesting to me over the last couple of years. He had an incredible rookie season. He just couldn't stay healthy, but I think
Right.
he averaged like 7 yards a carry, which is absolutely crazy. There was no
Yeah.
way that he was going to be able to sustain that. He definitely took a step back,
Right.
but the Dolphins use him in the passing game, which is definitely a plus for him, especially if we're doing a PPR style league. A couple of things that are kind of fighting against him. He does have a smaller frame for a running back,
Mm-hmm.
so injuries can definitely be a concern. He's had a little bit of injury history already. And then with the Miami offense, Mike McDaniels is just kind of a wild card on how he's going to use his running backs. A lot of times he does go kind of running back by committee. A-Chain is their number one guy, at least at this point.
Right.
But I believe they brought in a couple of running backs this offseason. I think they drafted a guy pretty late in the draft. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly who they brought in.
Jalen Wright? No, I think he was last year. I can look
It may
that
have
up.
been, yeah. But yeah, I think for A-Chain, if he continues to be that number one guy, he's one of the more explosive running backs in the league. And like I mentioned before, they do use him quite a bit in the passing game. I think last year, looking over here, he had 78 catches for 592 yards and 6 touchdowns. So you're definitely picking up one of those guys to get you some extra points through the passing game as well. On the running side of things, didn't have the best year, didn't crack 1,000 yards. But again,
Mm-hmm.
had 6 touchdowns on the ground too. So looking forward, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be right there in the mix when it comes to fantasy.
Yeah, I think this is a guy who, you know, he's on here because of his potential. And
Oh
you're
yeah,
right. I mean, 2 years ago in his rookie season, 100 carries for 800 yards. So, 103. So almost 8 yards a carry, which is
yeah,
insane. This year, 200 plus carries, 203 actually, and only 907 yards.
yeah,
So, that kind of went down in half, right? Almost
right.
the average there. But the receiving did tick up. I think you're putting up a great point. So that running back room right now is Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Alexander Madison, and Ollie Gordon. Wright and Gordon, guys that were pretty damn well in college.
Right.
So guys, and like you said, Mike McDaniels does like to just throw guys in there and keep that fresh. But I think Devon Achane, the fact that 23 and he's just so explosive, the potential is really what gets him in there.
Yep.
I'll talk about a guy, our first quarterback here, Lamar Jackson, one of 2 quarterbacks that are going to make it on our list here in our top 25. I mean, look, how much do I even need to say, really? He's 28, but he's a quarterback, right? I understand his running ability. I mean, he rushed for 915 yards last year and 821 the year before.
Yep.
But he's a guy who's figured out how to stay healthy, right? He doesn't take that many hits. This is something you want to hope that Jane Daniels learns is how to run effectively, but how to get out of bounds, how to slide, how to do what you need to do to protect
Yeah.
yourself in the NFL. And I think Lamar Jackson, I mean, and he threw for over 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean,
Absolutely incredible season.
he had a better year than last year when he won the MVP, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just a stud. He's now got, Derrick Henry to kind of help him out there as far as in the backfield and, take a load off. That's something the defenses have to think about. And
No doubt.
then, Zay Flowers and a couple of those wide receivers there.
And going off of your Derrick Henry point, like obviously he's probably the oldest starting running back in the league at this point. So how long will he play? But I think from an offensive scheme standpoint, the Ravens are committed to the run. And
Right.
I don't think they're going to go without, a running game to help Lamar Jackson kind of open up some space for him to do his thing and run 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then end up for a 15-yard gain somehow.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating for defensive coordinators and opposing fans, but absolutely electric player, and they're always going to have 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends on the field. They're run first team. So, Lamar, he has to make this list.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, why don't you talk about the guy who just made it in this tier, not the one above, Mr. Ladd McConkey.
Ladd McConkey, rookie season last year. He's only 23 years old. He had 82 catches for 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, he going off of his rookie season, he definitely developed pretty good chemistry with Justin Herbert pretty quickly. And at least at this point, the Chargers really don't have a second receiving option. They are a run-heavy team, but they got to balance it out somehow. They have to throw the ball at some point, and Ladd McConkey easily worked his way to the top of that receivers list last season.
Yeah, I feel like McConkey's like the best case scenario for a lot of the fantasy football guys that try to project for the rookies, especially draft time. You see a lot of these rookie ADPs like boost up, and they're talking about optimal best case scenarios. Sure. I feel like McConkey was one. I mean, he was a guy who I had questions coming out of Georgia. He dealt with the back injuries. He dealt with these kind of nagging injuries.
Yep.
Almost similar to Bowers, but.
Right.
He played 16 games last year, and he was very effective and durable, and he was a target hog. And like you said, he is their clear wide receiver 1. He's got a competent quarterback in Herbert, so I don't understand why he would not continue that success for years to come.
Completely agree.
All right, let's move on to our next tier here. The Robins, very good in their own right. Maybe you don't want to wear the tights, but they're not quite Batman. But you're damn happy if they're on your team there. Yep. We're going with Chase Brown coming in at number 20, Kyren Williams at 19, our second quarterback and our fourth quarterback up, QB1, Josh Allen, Trey McBride, who's going to be one of our 2 tight ends here on this list, and then Jonathan Taylor at 16. I will talk about the guy who's bringing up the caboose here in Mr. Chase Brown. Cincinnati Bengals running back, coming in at 25 years old. Now, this is a guy who really kind of peaked late in the year. It was his rookie year. He is 25 coming in this year, as a second-year guy. So a little bit older, but still 25. I mean, he's still got at least 5 good years there, you would hope. So he's the lead back now. Yep. I mean, coming into last season, I was a guy who was a little bit pounding the table for Zach Moss. Felt really good about myself early in the year. When Moss kind of did his thing, Moss got injured, and Chase Brown came in, and I mean, he lit it up at the end of the year. He really took opportunity of that backfield, and especially those last 4 or 5 games when they were making that playoff push there with the Bengals. Like, that offense was clicking, and he was a huge portion of that, both in the running game and out of the backfield. I mean, 11 touchdowns total, really, again, only being the lead back for like half the year. So I'm very optimistic on Chase Brown. I think, not a surprise. A lot of people are kind of high on him, and I think for good reason. This is an offense that, as long as Joe Burrow, JaMarr Chase, and T. Higgins are on the team, is going to be a very prolific offense. So he's going to get, by default, some of those touchdowns around the red zone, and he's going to be a great change of pace. Coming out of the backfield, he showed some ability there. When you have to think about 2 elite wide receivers and an elite quarterback, you're probably not crowding the box.
No
So
doubt.
one game is going to be favorable. If they have a guy, I think Zach Taylor in that offense is going to use him. So I think Chase Brown has a really high ceiling as far as what he could be as an NFL back.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, like you mentioned, between the space that he's going to get with those two elite wide receivers, and just as a change of pace from that high flying passing offense,
Right.
Chase Brown is going to have some holes from time to time, and he's a pretty explosive guy too that can bust one of those 20-30 yard touchdown runs as well. And they do use him in the passing game, so from a PPR standpoint is always a plus. So yeah, Chase Brown is a guy that has similar to McConkey, a lot of just he's just in a great position.
Right.
I don't know if he played for some other teams, if he would necessarily slide into this list, but as long as he's a Bengal, he's going to have those holes and he's going to be right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, great. Probably the best opportunity for a running back, maybe in the entire league.
Yeah. Maybe outside of Philly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Why would, yeah. And we'll talk about that fucker up there. That Benedict Barkley. Yes. We will talk about him. He will make our list. I will not be too biased as a Giants fan.
Let's jump down to the first tight end that we have on our list here. Trey McBride out in Arizona. He's been very, very durable the last couple of years since he's came into the league. He played 16 and 17 games respectively. He's gone over 80 receptions in each of the last 2 seasons. Last season, he had 111 catches for 1,146 yards. The one downside to Trey McBride is, for whatever fucking reason, they can't find he just can't find the end zone. I mean, I don't know where how they're gonna up his touchdown production, but they have to some way. He's a big target. I mean, now they have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's another big target there, but like Trey McBride, I just don't understand how he only has 3 touchdowns in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I feel like he's in like either tackled at the 1 or just like crazy kind of like really bad variant stuff. I mean, you would expect, maybe, I mean, he doesn't really have a lineup for us falling back to the regression, regressing to the mean. But, I mean, he's got 111 receptions and only 3 touchdowns. I mean, it is a bit puzzling, imagine his numbers with 7-8 touchdowns.
Right.
So yeah, he's just someone that I understand tight ends are not as typically as valued, but I think he's an exception. I mean, he's got over 100 receiving receptions and over 1,000 receiving yards.
Yep.
That's pretty damn good. It doesn't matter if it's coming out of the tight end or the wide receiver. So yeah, sure. I think that the offense is going to continue to flow through him, and then hopefully Marvin Harrison and that offense can figure it out. All right, we are going to move on to our tier number 3. But before we do that, I got to tell you about some of our other amazing sponsors here at IDP Plus. First off, you got to check out idpplus.com. You want to visit the site. We got all different content. Look, we are football 24/7, 365. We do not stop talking football. Of course, if you are an IDP head and you love defense, we are one of the only sites that really have a strong IDP presence. Derek and I are kind of heading up a lot of the offense here, but you definitely do want to check that out. And then, of course, we have offensive things. You're going to want to join our subscribers-only Discord. You want to get one of those subscriptions there because we have content that is only exclusively for our subscribers to make sure you guys are staying ahead of the rest of the field there. So check that out over at idpplus.com. The other thing that's coming up fast here, one of the best parts of the offseason, the Fantasy Football Expo. That's right, August the 8th through the 10th in beautiful Canton, Ohio, where that Hall of Fame game is going to be played. I think, do they always play it there? I might have lied.
At the Hall of Fame? Yeah.
Yeah, they got to, right? It's at the Hall of Fame,
Tom
right?
Benson. Yep.
All right. Yeah, okay, good. All right, but 2025 Fantasy Football Expo, go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Get your tickets today. Check out the new fan packages. And, hey, a couple of your IDP Plus hosts could be there. So you definitely want to hang out, grab a drink, and crack a cold one and do a cheers that isn't over YouTube. All right, let's get back to it. We're with our tier number 3, and these are our budding stars. These are our guys who are on the way, on the cusp ish. Well, I mean, not. Let me use different wording because that might be something else. But these are guys, young guys that are potentially budding into NFL superstars. These are guys
Yep.
that maybe for the super casual fan is not a household name, but are on their way to becoming, where grandma, grandpa, or your wife or something like that even knows their name. So that is 15, Nico Collins. 14, JSN. That is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Brian Thomas Jr., Bucky Irving, and rounding out this tier, the freak of nature himself, Mr. Ashton Jeanty. All right, man. Why don't you, or I will talk about Mr. Brian Thomas. And it
Go for it.
makes sense that I talk about Brian Thomas here at 13 because this was a guy I was fading coming to last year. I'll hand up. Oh, yep, there it is. Hand up. I was wrong about Brian Thomas. Coming into last year, he's a guy I wasn't particularly looking to go after because I thought he was a little bit of a one-year wonder at LSU. I thought, look, he benefited from having the great Malik Neighbors on the other side and having Heisman winner Jaden Daniels and that a prolific offense. Sometimes you just see guys, hey, somebody else has got to catch the ball. He benefited. Clearly, he shoved me in a locker because Brian Thomas had an amazing year. I mean, you talk about Ladd McConkey, you talk about Malik Neighbors, you talk about Brock Bowers. Brian Thomas had more receiving yards than any of those guys.
Yep.
He had 1,282 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns on 87 catches. I mean, I am not a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan. I mean, I cast their alt under, so hey, But clearly, he's got a good relationship with Goldilocks there and Trevor Lawrence, and he's the deep play threat. And now you take a team that really didn't have much outside of him, so I'm not sure what these defenses were focusing on. And now you bring in a guy like Travis Hunter, who's gonna garner some attention and garner some eyes there from the defense. So I think Brian Thomas really, if he can keep it up, is really on his way to kind of moving to that really elite tier of wide receiver. We just want to kind of see it more than one season, but coming in at 13, I really think Brian Thomas is set for another amazing year.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's only 22 years old, and you mentioned it. They brought in Travis Hunter in the offseason, but we still don't know exactly how they're going to use him. Are they going to use him full-time offense, full-time defense? Is it going to be 50-50, or is he going to play both full-time? It's hard to say until we see him on the field for a few weeks. But whenever he is on the field offensively, he's going to draw that safety that way away from Brian Thomas. He's not going to be able to be double teamed nearly as often. Like you said, he's a hell of a deep threat. So he can only benefit from another guy like Travis Hunter, who's a pretty raw prospect, but going into this NFL draft, like he was the number one corner and number one wide receiver coming into the draft. So, all things looking up for Brian Thomas Jr. And sadly, I know that you don't like Mr. Goldilocks, Trevor Lawrence, but he is bringing another guy in there that should be able to help him out. Whether he can help himself out and not throw some picks, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, and hey, Jacksonville didn't really have the best defense last year.
No.
One of the worst in the league, and I don't think they're going to magically turn it all around after one season. So they could be throwing it down, throwing the ball a lot, being down. What I will say really quick, did you catch I did appreciate this. You're talking about the unicorn that is Travis Hunter, and you play in both ways. They, how teams will tweet out like, hey, our draft pick has officially been signed, or yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I guess they sent out 2 tweets where it was like, the Jacksonville Jaguars have officially signed wide receiver Travis Hunter. And it was like the Jacksonville Jaguars have officially signed cornerback Travis Hunter.
That's hilarious.
I did appreciate that. I thought that was actually pretty funny.
I did not catch that. That's pretty creative. Yeah. And I kind of started to think, after they traded next year's first round pick away to Cleveland, I thought, well, it really doesn't matter because they got a number one wide receiver and number one corner all in the same draft anyway. So they use both anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I think everybody has to have this opinion, but I'm so excited to see how that plays out, man. Yeah. I really, I think it's intriguing. How much can he play on both sides? I mean, we saw him in college. I mean, Not a lot of guys do what he did. I know maybe Jabril Peppers, but we saw what Peppers wasn't really able to translate. I'm really excited to see if Travis Hunter can kind of keep
and that was one of my main things back when I did the wide receiver episode. He just missed the list just because of that. It's just like, is he going to be a wide receiver? Is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be able to split time? It's just so hard to say.
Right. All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Mr. Ashton Jeanty?
The absolute dog coming into the NFL. He hasn't even played a snap, and he's already at number 11 on our top 25 list. And the main reason behind that is he was an absolute stud at Boise. He ran the ball 374 times for 2,600 yards. 2,600
in one season. That's career stuff, man.
370 rushes is a lot, but he's a dude. And he had 29 touchdowns. I mean, the Raiders, they got a gem. Now, will they be able to use him appropriately? That's the one question that I have personally. Outside of Brock Bowers, who we haven't talked about or hasn't come up yet, who else they got? Kind of a thing, I mean, they brought Geno Smith in. I think it's definitely an upgrade at the quarterback position. But Ashton Jeanty is kind of one of those dudes coming into the NFL. And I fully expect him to have a pretty good NFL career.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, I think there's a couple things. There's a trust in both Jeanty and his amazing career. And I mean, we're typically a show that is kind of not as high on rookies. We kind of have a little bit more of you got to prove it to me, right? Yep. And so for him to be up here, I mean, just speaks volumes about what he's done.
And he's one of those guys that fell into a great position with a head coach in Pete Carroll. That dude absolutely loves to pound the rock. He likes to rely on his defense.
Right.
And he's in a perfect spot when it comes to that.
And he's a good coach. I think he's a competent coach, right? I mean, more than competent, I think he's a really good coach. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. You can trust Jeanty and you can trust Pete Carroll.
Yep.
So I think, having, and we'll talk about soon, but, I guess on our list, so 2 top 11 guys, right? I think he's going to be able to scheme something up. Jacoby Myers. I think Geno Smith is way better than whatever the hell they rolled out there last year. So I'm not a huge Geno Smith guy, but I mean,
he's got to be better than Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, he's a very big upgrade. No more Gardner Minshew. No more, who was it? Ritter.
Ritter.
If he takes another starting NFL snap, my goodness. All right. Moving on to tier number 2 here. This is the guys on the cusp of greatness. And there's Mr. Brock Bowers coming at number 10 there. Our tight end number 1. Malik Neighbors, my guy, New York Giant. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Saquon, Benedict Barkley, and CeeDee Lamb rounding out this tier here. Tier number 2. I will start with Mr. Brock Bowers there at number 10. He is just 22 years old. And man, this guy is special.
Yeah.
I guess, Travis Kelce, some other guys come to mind as far as who, like, he put up 17 games, 112 receptions, 1,194 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns with absolute dog shit at the quarterback position. Yeah. I mean, excuse my French, but they were terrible. So now again, Geno Smith, I mean, this guy who's thrown for 4,000 yards pretty consistently in the past couple of years.
Yep.
He's got a competent quarterback now, and that
and a more competent running game,
and a more competent and a head coach, right? Yeah. I mean, I really think like this guy is really, really good. Like he's I don't want to say generational yet.
I would say that we would both agree that he's Ashton Jeanty like at his position as he came into the NFL.
Right.
He's just one of those dudes that can't miss.
Right. Crazy prototype prospect. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he's a freak at his position.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Absolute freak of nature. So, I mean, I can't wait to watch this guy watch more football. I'm just quickly realizing, damn, am I going to have to be somewhat in on this Raiders, at least on their offense this year? We'll see as we get closer to our giving out our, going through our team previews and stuff, which IDP Plus bets, check out for that coming soon.
Yep.
But yeah, man, Brock Bowers absolutely a stud, and he's got to crack the top 10 for us. So
No
Bowers comes
doubt.
in at 10.
No doubt. Yeah, no, I if there's any way that you can get Brock Bowers, and round that first part of the second round and even end of the first round, like he's kind of a tier by himself at this point at the tight end position. He's the Travis Kelce of the last 5 years, kind of a prospect. So absolute stud.
Yeah. So whatever you got to do, trade for him, whatever you need. If you have them, don't fucking trade them. Right. With this dynasty format there. All right. Well, I'll let you do most of the talking about this next guy.
Who would have guessed that you wouldn't want to talk about a former Giant in Saquon Benedict Barkley, as you like to refer to him as? Had an okay year last year. Only 2,005 yards, and didn't end up playing in the last.
Didn't break any records. He's fine.
Yeah, he didn't break any records, but had 13 touchdowns. By far the oldest running back on our list when it comes to Dynasty. Again, we're projecting, but the Eagles have one hell of an offensive line. They have two hell of wide receivers. Dallas Goedert. You got Jalen Hurts, controlling that offense, and they just got studs all over the field. Like all 11 of their guys that they put out there are absolute dogs, and they're going to be able to move the ball. And Saquon hasn't shown a lick of slowing down. He showed that he is the explosive guy that we expect him to be. And yeah, I just don't know how opposing defenses are really going to slow down that Philly offense for more than a quarter or two throughout the season.
Right. Well, here's what I'll say. So at the amazing New York Football Giants organization, we have a saying, forever a Giant. Saquon Benedict Barkley was never a Giant, in my opinion. That part of that seems like AI. Anything I see of him in a Giants jersey is not real. Didn't happen. So talking about this absolute treacherous person, he's just in a great situation. I mean, he's a great running back in a great situation. Yep. I hate to put him on this list, but you just can't. He's that good.
The only way that he doesn't is if the Madden curse is a thing.
Madden curse, and I will say touches.
That's true.
Coming off of 345 carries and 33 receptions. That was only in the regular season too, and they obviously have their playoff run. So an extra 4 games there. Yep. I will say the year before he did have 340 almost touches. So he has shown an ability to kind of get back there, but I mean, he's got to be well over 400 with the playoff run. So that will be his biggest workload. And we saw a la Christian McCaffrey. Sometimes that can have an effect. It's not, it's not cause and effect. It's, there's just a little bit more of an increased likelihood. But given his healthy situation, got to put him there. And that's about all we'll say for Mr. Benedict Barkley there. All right, let's go to our number 1 tier here. It's our number 1 through 5 for guys. Or if you have fantasy football, these are our rankings out of all the guys that are available. So our dynasty starters. If you want to start a franchise, if you want to start a dynasty, these are the guys that you want on your team. Coming in at number 5, Mr. Puka Nacua. JaMarr Gibbs as our RB2, Bijan Robinson as the RB1, Justin Jefferson and JaMarr Chase. Obviously, no surprise at the top there. Let's talk Mr. Puka Nacua, because I think it's a guy that we are both a little bit higher than market on. Typically, you see him, after CD. You see him after, Neighbors and stuff like that. Maybe even St. Brown. But I just think that, look what he did in 11 games. I mean, almost 80 catches and 990 yards, almost 1,000 yards and missing 6 games. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy
it's not like his injury was anything, minor. It wasn't a couple of concussions or anything like that. This dude had a major knee
Right.
injury in the middle of the
Heel
season.
strain. Yeah, and those are tough to come back from. So, I mean, he's just a tough dude. Year before his rookie year, 17 games, 105 receptions, almost 1,500 yards and 6 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp leaves. You bring in Devonta Adams, but
Yeah.
they love to use Puka everywhere. I think Puka can now be the number one red zone target. I think we
Yep.
can see an uptick in touchdowns there.
McVay likes to do those jet sweep kind of things all the time, throw him in the
Absolutely.
backfield occasionally.
Tough son of a gun.
Yep.
Him and Stafford are only going to continue to get better together. I think
Yep.
he is now officially the wide receiver 1 for the LA Rams there. 24 years old. I mean, the sky is the limit for this kid.
Yeah.
I just think that there's so much potential here. He's got a offensive mastermind, genius, whatever. He's
Yeah.
got one of the better quarterbacks to ever play the game. I think his 2 to 3 year outlook is about as good as it can get.
And I would agree with that, especially you mentioned Stafford, obviously one of the older quarterbacks in the league, but I think at this point Puka Nacua is almost quarterback proof in that Sean McVay offense. Like the dude's going to get 12 to 15 targets every single game at least, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just been so productive, so consistent over the last couple of years when he's been on the field that he just has to be in that top 3, top 4 wide receiver conversation for me.
Yeah, and he's out in LA. He's got the flow coming out of the helmet. I mean, he's a
That's
cool
right.
guy. He's got a root for.
That's right.
But why don't you tell us about our RB1? Because I don't think we need to talk about JaMarr Chase, Justin Jefferson. They're 1A, they're 1B. I mean,
Yep.
they're just that good. It's almost not even worth talking about.
For sure.
But there is some debate around the RB1. So
Yep.
we have Mr. Bijan Robinson. Why don't you tell the people why?
Yeah, I mean, I like Bijan Robinson mainly because he's just been so consistent. He's been so durable. He's playing 17 games in both seasons in the NFL. Last year, he had pretty near 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he is a major option as a receiving back too. He had 61 receptions and another touchdown through the air. So, between him and Jameer Gibbs, like, you can kind of go back and forth with them, but I think that the big thing is in Detroit, they do use David Montgomery a lot more than the Falcons use Tyler Algier at this point. Like, I know you're a big Algier guy for a little bit, and I think it's just one of those things that they tried to do the running back by committee for a little bit, but like Bijan Robinson's an absolute stud.
Yeah.
And he's another one of those guys coming out of Texas that you kind of knew that. And he's been able to continue that right into the NFL without any questions asked.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, like you said, I love Tyler Algier. He's made me a lot of money in the alt receiving yard or rushing yards market. I will be playing him again next year because they just expect him to not get anything because Bijan's so good.
Yep.
But as you can see from his rookie year to last year, I mean, he only had 214 carries in his rookie year, and then he had 304. They kind of, they let the chains off a little bit. They let the leash off. They're letting him kind of go there,
sure.
and he's getting separated. And it makes sense. I mean, we think he's the best running back, for the potential 3 to 5 next year. It's like he is an absolute stud.
He's only 23 years old, and I think that rookie year he was coming off that ACL tear, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
I think, yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, that's probably part of the reason why his carries were down in that first
a little bit slower of a start, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But like you said, they let the chains off, and he rushed for 1,456 yards, 14 touchdowns. Right. He's the dude down there in Atlanta.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Bijan Robinson, absolute stud. Sky's the limit there. And like you said, I mean, Jameer Gibbs is also a dog and all of the above. But David Montgomery's a little bit more of a carved out role than Tyler Algier down there. So that's kind of the difference there. And look, I mean, his receptions too, 61 receptions and 58 receptions. And when we're talking about PPR here, he's got almost double the receptions than any of these other running backs have. So clear threat all over the field. Absolutely smash play there. All right, my friend. Look, it's time to start talking about football and only football. I mean, it's time to start getting serious, right? It's time to really – this is where bets are won. The championships are made in the offseason. This is where our championships are made.
Oh, yeah.
So, look, we wrapped up Dynasty. We started off together doing the quarterbacks and the tight ends. Derek finished it off with the running backs, wide receivers. Check those out if you want some more in-depth deep dives for the position. And don't worry, because we're going to be back very soon. We're talking redraft now. So just this 2025 season, we'll see how these rankings differ, and we'll kind of talk through. We're going to do the same format. You're going to get your quarterbacks, your tight end, your running back, wide receiver, and then we will come together for a cumulative top 25 redraft rankings there. What do you got for the people before we get up on out of here?
Well, not a whole lot. I mean, just stick around. We got all kinds of different types of content come. Like you said, we got the redraft stuff coming up over on IDP Plus. We got division and team outlooks for this upcoming season. We still might throw a little bit of injury talk here and there, especially once training camp starts. Training camp's super exciting, but at the same time, there's still not any actual football being played, and injuries tend to start popping up. So we might be throwing some stuff out there.
Absolutely. Yeah,
as well for that stuff. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, look, you got a lot to look forward to. I'm jacked to be back on the mic, talking ball. We're locking in. Our season is starting right now. So, hey, we hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you join us. If you did enjoy the show, give us a like, subscribe, comment. Hey, I think you agree with this. I don't agree with this. Or, hey, I'd love to see this. Or just tell us, hey, you look like an idiot. That works too. All right. But hey, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show. We are going to be putting out a lot more content, both on IDP Plus here. And then if you're more into the betting space, Derek and I do a lot of that too. That is our drive there. So IDP Plus bets, definitely hop on over there. We'll be talking a lot. All right, folks, without further ado, this is Professor Locks and the DJ Doc signing off for IDP Plus.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.